What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you learn how to reach people online, build influence, and attract more ideal clients. And we have a fantastic guest with us today. We're talking about how to sell more homes by helping your buyers with a very unique way to get their down payments covered, and we'll get into that in a second. So we've got a very special guest here who's a friend of Bernice Ross, who's a friend of the show and does a lot of stuff with Greg and co-authors Inman articles with Greg and all kinds of fun stuff. So we are in good company once again today. We've got the Evil Bald Ninja here on deck. We'll bring him on in a second. He is looking very astute. Very smart. Very. I assume there's a large leather-bound copy of James Joyce's Ulysses sitting next to him. We'll get to that. I'm sure he'll read us a passage, regale us with his oratorical skills here in a second. But first, my illustrious colleague, my esteemed partner in crime, Greg McDaniel in the co-pilot seat. What's up today?
What's up, Johnson Face? Hey, buddy. It's a happy Friday. I got a black cat sitting on my lap, and you know, Gene and I before the show, he and I were having a good yarn. At the fact that I don't think that's the right word, but anyways, we're gonna get to the point of that.
It's not, but that's okay.
It's not the right word. As soon as I said it, I'm like, that's not the right word at all. But you know, we were having a good laugh at the fact that you won't be able to figure out what's different with both of us, and we tried to get you to understand what was different with both of our looks today, and you have failed, my friend. You have failed. Rob, can you tell us what's different between me and Gene from every other show?
You're hatless.
Yes!
You got it.
What? What?
Dude!
He never not has a hat on.
Hey, that was beginner's luck. Okay, you know.
Oh, you are
man.
epic. That
I thought
was
maybe,
awesome.
Greg, you finally got a haircut or something, and that was the difference. I mean, your hair actually looks good, but maybe it's just because I'm so used to seeing it only after you've had a hat on. So that's definitely possible. Because for about the last 6 months, you basically rolled in with a hat on, and then I get to see the glimpse of your hair when it's just when it's like a former hair helmet. Yeah.
Oh, God, Rob, you are now on the Christmas card list, my friend. Thank you. Matt,
Right.
you're demoted down to fucking grunt. Get out of here. Gosh.
All right. Well, I was going to go get some Chipotle early today, so that's fine. I'll just be on my merry way. All right. So let's bring in Rob and officially welcome you to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
I know, me too. So give us the rundown, just kind of who you are, where you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the down payment stuff, and we'll talk about the future of real estate. We've got a whole bunch of things that we can talk about with you because you got a wealth of experience. But give the listeners who may not know you just a sense of what you're up to, and then we'll dive into the background.
Yeah, so I'm Rob Chrane, CEO and founder of Down Payment Resource, founded in 2008. We are the longest-running startup, early-stage startup. 12 years later, you know, that's the fun part of a business. So why leave that behind? But in as few words as possible, we help our business partners connect home buyers with the down payment help they need. Or to say it even more briefly, concisely, somebody said we're like Match.com for DPA.
There's help for you, Matt. And anyways, no matter what, buddy. But you know, Rob, when you and I did the show with Bernice for Inman, and you just blew my mind in regards to, and we're going to get into this on how many down payment resources there are. There's some grants, there's some loans, there's 2,800 and change. Am I getting that number right?
It's about 2,300, give or take, but.
Yeah, 2,300 and like 81% of them are funded and ready to roll or something along those lines.
Yeah, usually, and that's a result of COVID. Some of it's about 3% of the programs that are normally funded are not. It really impacted more very small municipal funded programs as opposed to the bigger agencies. Some of them just had problems working remotely, but like I said, it's a tiny percent of everything that's out there. So there is plenty of money.
Oh, amazing! I mean, like Matt and Gene, and this is not a joke. When Rob and I did the show with Bernice for Inman, and he was telling me about kind of what was out there and what was available. We'll get into it later on how you can stack things and how a lot of times people don't have to pay anything back, and it just blew my mind because I'm like, holy cow! Like, I've been doing this for almost 21 years, and I've never heard of these resources. Imagine the general public who have no idea about this. I mean, this is a game changer for real estate agents to pick up buyers, to help people get into houses. And I mean, I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think even more than Rob is. I mean, because I think that because
What are you
it's
talking about?
so,
This is my favorite subject. I love talking about this.
Well, let's go back because I'm curious. Just, I mean, 2008 sounds like a perfect time to start a company. I know I was coming out of owning a real estate team in 2007 into 8 and kind of got out of the business and went and did other things. Rob, you went and started a company. So let's talk about like those early days and what was the original genesis of the company? What was the original spark of the idea?
Yeah, well, I came from I was in real estate, not in 2008, but 15 years in real estate. That was really my first professional job after I gave up being a roadie for rock and roll bands. But
No way.
I thought the next best.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought the next best thing to being a roadie would be a real estate agent. That was
Okay.
So
I went
anyway,
the opposite way. I went from real estate to then spending 5 years chasing the dream as a musician. That's hilarious.
Oh,
We just
really?
had
Okay.
we did it the opposite way.
Well, you had talent. I didn't. That's why I was a roadie. I didn't have talent, but I figured I could be close to talent. I could sail right up next to it.
But you never know. Some of those roadies are insane players in their own right, and that they end up sometimes replacing the musicians in the band they roadie for. So you never know who's unloading or setting up somebody's guitar or drums. That could be the next member of the band.
Billy Powell with Leonard Skinner. The story about they were recording in Muscle Shoals. The band went out for lunch. He was sitting at the grand piano. They came in. He was playing this classical piece, which ended up ultimately being the intro to Freebird. And they said, wait a minute, you never told us you could play piano. He said, yeah, I was classically trained. He had been a roadie for them. He became a full member of the band.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been with them for a million,
How's
like
that
30
for
plus
a
years
dream?
now, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. All right, so
But I digress.
You come off the road. You come off the road. 2008. You're starting a company. So what was the original idea for it, and why settle on that idea to build the company around?
Yeah, so I was after my 15 years in real estate, I was in mortgage banking for a number of years. I don't want to tell you exactly how many, because then you'll do the math and realize just what an old fart I really am. I don't just look like one; I am one. But anyway, so I was in the mortgage business for a while, so I was aware of these programs. I was a originator for a number of years, and I was sales management, and then some senior leadership positions. But it always bothered me that there was money out there, nobody knew about it, and even as a professional working in a local market, there still could be dozens of programs out there for different administrators, different rules, a lot of complexity. And I just kept thinking there had to be a better way. And, I started saying somebody needs to do something about this, because I thought it'd be a great idea if somebody did something about it. I had no intention of doing that. And then in 2007, in that first wave of the credit crunch, before things really hit in 2008, the company I worked for, which was an awesome company, I was there 12 years. I figured I'd be there, till they carried me out. But just through a series of circumstances, it got hit in that first wave of the credit crunch. The warehouse lender cut off the warehouse line, and boom, out of business. So a few months before that, I had this idea, and it was really the genesis of the idea was as part of my job, I had to build relationships with multifamily developers, condo developers, because we had marketing arrangements with them as well as home builders. I joined an organization called Urban Land Institute, ULI, and to network and get to know builders and developers. And a large national multifamily developer had given ULI a large multi-million-dollar gift to create a workforce housing center. I finagled my way onto the steering committee for one of the pilot cities, which was here in Atlanta, where I'm based. Everybody was sitting around a big conference table saying, okay, what's a workforce housing center? How we have this money, what are we supposed to do with it? And I was sitting back in the corner because I didn't know developer speak, but I was trying to think, well, what would I do with the money? And I thought, well, this is how dumb it is, right? How extraordinarily simple-minded you can be. And I said, well, if I had the money, I would, first of all, organize all these programs, all the rules around these programs, and make it easy for people to access it, both from, realtors and mortgage lenders, but also for consumers. And so that was 4 or 5 months before the company I worked for went bankrupt. I had the idea, but it was kind of a shock to be out of a job, so I was looking for a job, but I started just testing the concept out on people, got some positive feedback, and what you don't know is good, because 12 years later I can look back and say, well, if I knew what it was going to be like, I wouldn't have had the guts, and I would have missed out. I would have missed out on one of the greatest experiences of my life. But anyway, probably more than you want to know, but that's how these crazy things happen, right?
Yeah, I love it. So going back to the original idea, so like the Match.com for down payment assistance. So you got all these programs out there. Give us an idea of why some of those programs exist, and why don't more people know about them? Are they from all kinds of different government institutions? Are they private lenders? Is it just a mismatch of a whole bunch of stuff, and that's why it's so hard to put all this stuff into one place and get people to understand it? Like, well, give us an idea what the landscape looks like.
Yeah, you're right. It's complexity. It's confusing, contradictory. So, we were talking about roughly 2,300 programs available nationwide, and 70 to 75% of those are some type of down payment assistance, closing cost help, whether they be grants or they, due on sale, prepayable. And those are administered by a little over 1,200 different agencies. So, like you said, they're governmental, quasi-governmental. Sometimes they're nonprofits that manage them for small municipalities. So, and they're at every level. They're municipal, city, county. Maybe a corner of a county economic development office, or every state has a state housing finance agency. So they're better funded, more sophisticated operations, bigger operations, and do a lot of things more beyond down payment assistance. So you've got these. They each have their own set of rules for eligibility. They have different benefits. The programs have covered different geographies. They don't align with zip codes. That's always an interesting challenge, because people are used to doing real estate search by zip codes, or at least that's one of the search criteria. But these are aligned more with, like I said, municipalities. Sometimes census tracts, sometimes down to the neighborhood level. You can have arbitrary polygons where you have maybe employer-assisted programs, and they want the employers that are giving down payment money to recruit and retain employees. They draw maps that some proximity to their place of work, and so it doesn't align with anything. So.
Yeah,
so there's all kinds
sort of make sense. Yeah, it'd be like if Coke decides to bring in an executive, they're not going to pay for, like give him down payment assistance to have a house on the opposite, the suburbs on the opposite side of town, where they're going to commute for an hour. They want them to be based close enough to headquarters or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. Very cool. Okay.
Can we take a step back?
Yes.
No.
Do you mind? I feel like a dummy right now, right? So we talked in the beginning of the show that with these new glasses, I should be now called the evil bald genius. But I'm not feeling that right now. I want Rob to explain this to me like I don't have any idea what the hell he's talking about. So how does this work? Like who's it for? How would it apply to me? Like break it down to stupid, dumb facts as if I was like a 5-year-old. If you don't mind, I just don't understand what it is. Like how can it help me?
Yeah, so I think some of the motivation originally behind these programs, and still today, housing and home ownership is important to the economy. It's a huge economic driver. It also has societal, social impact in terms of home ownership. That's the way most people gain most of their wealth, is by owning a home and gaining appreciation. So as an economic driver, the idea was to make home ownership more affordable for lower and middle income households.
Okay.
And that probably started in the late 80s, early 90s is when most of these programs started. So first of all, it's a way to help more people buy homes.
Okay.
So let's say my wife and I were just starting out, and we find a place that's $200,000. Obviously, the majority of that's going to be under a mortgage. Say we got to come up with 10%, which is $20K. I would come to you, and you would help me with the $20K plus closing. And then what does that look like from a like a collateralized position? Like how would you look at me and say, yeah, this guy can have this money, or no way, you're not somebody that it applies to? Like how would that work out?
Yeah, I'm not going to help you at all.
He does look super sketchy. Yeah, to be fair.
Wait, let me I got glasses on.
Maybe with a hat on, but no. No. The reason I am going to help you, but I'm not. I don't have the money to give to you. Yeah, we're really we're information as a service. There are all these programs out there, like we said. There are different types of programs, about 12 categories of programs, but the majority of them are some type of help towards down payment and closing cost. And so we track the programs. We built a database, gathered the information about the programs at a very high level, basic level. We track the funding status, the eligibility rules, and the benefits of the programs. All that stuff doesn't change all of the time, but different things are changing. And to give you an order of magnitude, last year alone, our team made over 130,000 updates to the database.
Wow.
So now some of those, full disclosure, some of those are simple. We run a script every night to find broken links, because in the results there'll be links to that provider's website. Who are the participating lenders? Who are the approved education providers, and that kind of information. So, some of those updates really are automated and simple, but it's important to know when something changes or when something doesn't change, because if you're a real estate agent and you know about a program and you have a customer that needs it, a client, a home buyer, you don't want to get them excited about it. You don't want to put them in your car and take them to Homes and write an offer only to find out that that program expired last week, or the rules changed.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I envision being one of the toughest things, and Greg, you probably give us some insight on just how to handle and manage a buyer's expectations. But yeah, it would be really tough to have that be such an integral part that it determines whether they get a very specific house or not, and then everything rides on the perfect qualification for that particular program, when it's, like, what if you fill out something in the application paperwork incorrectly and they end up rejecting the application, or whatever the case is. Like, there's just, it's like I could see like adding another layer of complexity there, like agents kind of shying away from that. So Greg, how do you work with a buyer to kind of manage the expectations that, hey, there's all these things out there, we're going to check into them to see which might apply, but there's literally just no guarantees until the deal is done.
Well, when I first met Rob several weeks ago or several months ago, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was literally floored, because being almost a 21-year veteran in this industry, I had not heard of this type of assistance. Bernice had talked about it quite a bit, and I kind of sloughed it off a little bit, like, oh yeah, whatever. It's it's somewhat little fly-by-night thing she's talking about. But then when Rob came on and we did the article for Inman, I was literally, like I told you, I was floored, because I'm like, oh my God, there's nearly 2,300 plus products out there that, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but you can stack them, if it works appropriately, and then you can help your buyers even get more money. I've never heard of that. And so I've been wanting to learn more, and that's why I was so excited to have Rob come on the show today again, so I could hear it for a second time. Setting the expectations and managing the expectations, number one, obviously get your clients over to Rob, to his company, let them decide, say, okay, these people qualify for X, Y, and Z. I don't have to manage it anymore. They will have their own expectations met, and then we can go out and look for something appropriate from what the expectations that had been set by Rob and his company. Now we go hunting for houses with the right down payment, assistance in mind. So I'm not going, hey, Matt, you and Julie and your 3 obese little fat little troll babies can fit into squeeze into this double wide. You ready for that? They might fall through the floor, but are you good for that? And Matt gets all excited. He'd been wanting a double wide forever, and that single trailer has just not been wide enough for years. And so, that's where I would fall on my face if I actually set that expectation for you. That extra space.
Yeah, and just one minor but important clarification on that. As far as setting expectations, we don't actually, we keep the information, we put it in a place where it's accessible. Like I said, to real estate agents, to lenders, to
Yeah, I
home
was going to
buyers.
ask you about that, Rob. It's not that they come to you guys and you tell them exactly what all they qualify for. Like, it's not like you're taking the place of the agent and stepping in and being like this competing expert, right? You're making the information available to the agent, so the agent is the expert.
Yeah, exactly. Keep the agent in the center of the transaction, and the agent doesn't have to be the subject matter expert either, because we provide all the information and it's automated, and you can find the next steps. I mean, what Greg was saying is interesting, and it's something we think at some point in time we may scale up and actually offer that kind of service, because it is. I think more people could be served if somebody played that role. But the way it works today is, in the ideal scenario, the agent has the buyer, they know about the programs, they used our system to find out, what programs would work, not just for this home buyer, for the household, but for the property. There's two components. The property has certain requirements to be eligible, just like the household does. So you have both of those have to match. So, you kind of, you're almost picturing like a 32-dimensional hyperspace matrices trying to, say, how does all this stuff line up to make a deal? And but we put all that together to automate it and make it searchable, and what are the next steps, where you go. But really the lender becomes the key. And where we see the greatest success is where agents have lender partners, some who specifically do these programs. There's no lender, I don't think, or it's very rare that any lender would do nothing but these programs. But some lenders choose not to do the programs at all, again, because of the complexity, operational complexity makes it inefficient and not cost effective. But the lender's going to do the heavy lifting. The lender's going to do kind of what Greg was describing is, okay, we see there's a match here. We know this program is funded. The lender is going to take it the rest of the way as part of the overall, first mortgage product. They're just going to do the whole thing. And so, one of the things we hear a lot of times from agents about using our system, they say, it's a conversation starter. It starts conversations that would not have otherwise taken place. And that's a strength of it. That can, for some people, that could be a double-edged sword, because if you feel insecure that you're not a subject matter expert on this topic, are you maybe shy about starting that conversation, because are you setting yourself up to be asked a lot of questions where you have to feel foolish and say, I don't know. So, but it doesn't have to be that way. And the best way to not be that way is to have, among your lender partners, make sure some of those lenders do these programs. And all you have to do is start the conversation and then make an introduction, and the lender will carry it across the finish line for you.
So, Robert, let me ask you a question. When it comes to, again, being almost 21 years in this business as a veteran, why is this not more common knowledge? Are the banks trying to hide this? Are these programs, they're out there to help people, but why are more people not aware of this? Because this can literally help tens of thousands of families not struggle. Like, I'm going to show a young lady a house this afternoon, her first time buying. One of these things could radically help her get into a property. Why are agents, why are lenders, obviously you've been shouting this from the rooftop, so why are people not yelling at the top of their lungs? This could be a massive value add when you're trying to attract buyers, as clients.
That's a great question, and I don't think there's any question I get asked more often over the past 10 or 12 years is, why doesn't everybody use it? Why doesn't everybody know about it? And I don't have any really good answers. I could tell you some of the reasons I've been given, and I can relate to it, having been a realtor and having been a lender. It is complicated. If you're paid on commission which real estate agents are and lenders are basically. Your time is your money, and any complexity you add to the process is potentially costing you future deals. So, I guess maybe a nicer way to say it is the incentives are misaligned because
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
because they don't get anything more out of it with the extra complexity. The only difference is they have to recognize that if they present themselves as someone that has more awareness, more expertise, more access to these programs, if it gives them if it separates them from the competition of other agents, and it makes them into more than just a door monkey, basically someone that just opens the door for a buyer, then that does give them a leg up, and they would get deals they would miss otherwise if they're viewed as just a commodity. So I think that's it's an interesting thing. It falls into the category of things that agents can do to differentiate themselves from other agents, but you do have to kind of pick and choose what all you're going to specialize in, because if you go down this path, there is some complexity and some things like that. You've got your company to help out, but they get to differentiate themselves from everybody else. But you can't pick 17 different things to differentiate yourselves from all the other buyers agents, right? You do want to go down and develop some sort of specialty. So that to me makes sense, because basically anything that asks agents to do some more research, or just and really present themselves differently from other agents by going into some sort of specialty, agents rebel against that because they're afraid of putting off other people. Like if I say that I specialize in helping people with down payment assistance, well, what about people who want to sell their home? Like, well, yes, but you got to specialize in something. So if you want to work with buyers, why not tell them that you're better at working with buyers, and those listings will still come along. A lot of times the people that will be attracted to you because of your buying expertise will still have a home that they need to turn around and sell, but be clear about who you want to work with. If you want to work with people that are buying, then go for buyers. I mean, Greg, I've given you a hard time about this for years, because for some mysterious reason you prefer working with buyers, right?
Yeah.
And I've given you a hard time about specializing in listings, and you refuse to do it. Like you proudly say, I enjoy working with buyers, so bring on the buyers.
I do like working with buyers. Bandito, what do you like to work with, buddy? He doesn't care. Bandito, he likes buyers and sellers. Me, I like everybody. I'm getting more into the sellers now. But what I'm saying is, yes, you do need to qualify and classify who and what you're going to be working with. I completely agree with that. And Gene, I want you to weigh in on this on the marketing side, because I want to see what you would do with Rob to get the word out about this. But there is nothing more powerful than sitting at an open house of your own listing, right? Let's say I decide to flip-flop on Matt, and I love listings now, and I'm sitting, he's smirking. I'm sitting in my open house. A buyer comes through, is Gene and his wife and his daughters, and I say, hey guys, welcome to the area, yada yada, yakety schmackety. Have you been pre-approved? Yeah. Well, did you guys know that there's these different programs that can help us, assist you in regards to your down payment, and it won't come out of your pocket? What? I just became the hero. So I think it's a double-edged sword. It can help the buyers, but also they're going to go tell their friends and family, hey, this guy is a rock star real estate agent. He's able to help me get more, put more money down, or not take so much money out of my pocket. And they're going, oh my God, this guy is is the coming of Jesus, times 2. And he's going to, we need them to sell our house because he helped, Gene and his family buy their next house. I think there's both there, but Gene, weigh in on, if you put your marketing hat on, which you never take off, and now with your super smart spectacles, you're going to be able to breeze through this. But Rob is your new client. How would you get the word out to the real estate world about this incredible opportunities? 2,300 different opportunities for buyers to get into properties. Break it down for me.
I would go right after private groups. I think I would do it one of two ways, if not both ways, which is target the real estate agents so they're educated with some kind of educational series, and then also target buyers. And I'm sure there's ways we could do that. I'm not sure. I know we can. There's ways we could do it by targeting people on different sites. The other thing I think too is, I don't know if it would be not legal, but if you could do it, but advertising with your Zillows and your and some of these other sites for home buyers, where home buyers spend a lot of their time looking. Right. So I would focus on targeting real estate agents because for me, I've been in the real estate game for like 11 years. I didn't know this existed. I feel like this is extremely attractive to somebody who's just getting started and maybe thinks they can't because, well, how am I going to get $15,000 or, to put it down? And I think the easiest part for me right now would be how do we get as many people to know that this is available? I think once we pitch to them that this is available and that they are somebody that can use it immediately, then I think the rest kind of unfolds. I would call Rob and say, like, what do I do next? I didn't realize this was there. What do I do next? And he would say 1, 2, 3, and you get this money. I mean, I think it was a pretty easy target because we only have to target 2 different groups. That makes sense?
Matt's gonna wash Rob's car on Saturdays, and Gene is gonna help Rob get the word out to the real estate world. This is a great podcast. You guys are so kind and helpful.
True story.
I mean, just
yeah. Thanks, Greg, for volunteering both of us. Fantastic. All right, and then Rob, you mentioned that the mortgage, the loan officer ends up doing a lot of the work behind the scenes to kind of push the paperwork through and different things like that. Is there like a campaign to raise awareness there? Or is that mostly driven by the agent coming to them and saying, hey, I think this is something we need to check into because I've got buyers that I want to help, but they need some extra assistance, and they're going to someone in the mortgage space and getting them to check into some of the programs. So which is it like if the realtor was not aware of it and the mortgage loan officer was aware of it, would that help the situation? Does that give the loan officer more options for ways that they can help? Like, does it benefit them, or does it benefit them more if the agent brings them somebody that they wouldn't have had otherwise?
Yeah, it really goes both ways. It works both ways, and we have our 2 primary sales channels are the real estate point of sale, but in our case it's through MLSs. That's our distribution point, and then we have lender customers. Primarily, really we're B2B enterprise. 98%. We're doing some interesting things. About to roll out an interesting pilot. There's so many things we can do. It's when you're small and you've got limited resources and bandwidth, you have to be really disciplined. But we're going in some interesting directions beyond the basics. So, and in fact, the original business plan, our primary market was lenders and the GSEs, Fannie and Freddie. That was in April of 2008. First sales call was to Fannie Mae, and through LinkedIn. LinkedIn was relatively new then, not completely new, but I found somebody at Fannie Mae who had just been promoted to VP of innovation, and they were looking for startups and people to do things they wanted to get done, but they couldn't get done internally. And we had this big meeting in their office in D.C., and a friend of mine worked at the regional office with Fannie Mae here in Atlanta, and I said, here are the people. Are these the right people? These are the people going to be in the meeting. He goes, oh, yeah, you got all the right people. And I go in there and had an awesome meeting, and they're like, yeah, you're onto something. We tried to do this. We couldn't get it done, but, this is probably time. That was 2008. And then, of course, not too many months later, the whole financial world turned upside down. So I don't think any of those people are still at Fannie Mae. But actually, so I was so pumped and excited after this meeting. I said, all right, I am onto something. Damn it, we're on our way. I didn't even have a prototype.
Yeah.
I had this PowerPoint deck. The whole idea was to integrate it into their automated underwriting system, desktop underwriting.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Just have it part of the deal so that if somebody's eligible and there's money needed, boom, it's all spits out in the results. And that's still going to happen one day. And we have worked with the GSEs since then. But anyway, that the wheels came off that, and for lenders. So that's when we pivoted to our plan was lenders first, then the real estate side. So we just had the classic cliche startup pivot, and we said, okay, people don't know about these programs, but by 2008, most people were starting their home search online. Mm-hmm. And we said, okay, well, the property has to be eligible in addition to the household. So what if we get some of the data fields on the active listings, the data we need to know about a listing to say, is this eligible for any programs? And if so, specifically which programs? And let's flag the listings. So when people are online, and, first-time home buyers, I know you guys have seen this, they're online sometimes 12, 18 months before they think they're going to be ready to buy. But they're dreaming, they're browsing, they're getting ready. And so what better place to put a message that if they're looking at a home and this home appeals to them and it meets their search criteria, and there's a message there that says down payment money is available, see if you're eligible. So we started marketing it to MLSs and signed our first MLS, which was North Star MLS in Twin Cities this month, where I was just talking to their CEO yesterday, but this month we've got a bunch of events going on, virtual events, obviously, but to celebrate our 10th anniversary of that first customer. And so that's back to what Gene was saying, that if you put the message in the right place, you will get people's attention. But again, I can't tell you. I guess I'm coming to the conclusion that I've got to be the world's worst salesperson, the world's worst, because how could there be such a no-brainer? Everybody says, God, this is a no-brainer. Why don't everybody do it? This is awesome, and it is. Mm-hmm. So why don't we have more MLSs? Why aren't more agents using it? Why aren't every lender using it? And I can tell you all the different reasons. It's just it's a long slog, but it sounded like sort of some of the things you were hinting at, talking about later. We'll probably get to this later about, what is the future? What is going to change? What is, where is that tipping point? Because there is going to be a tipping point.
Yeah, well, let's get into it now, because that's exactly the conversation I wanted to get into. So when you say tipping point, let's talk about a little bit about what you mean, and then let's start bouncing around some things just about where things are going. So when you say tipping point, what do you mean?
For me, related to this, the tipping point is when consumers are empowered with the knowledge that this help exists.
Gotcha. So they pull the assistance out of the agent and the lender by virtue of them knowing it. Similar to the way that Carfax broke out into the mainstream, right?
Yeah, Carfax. This is probably a bad analogy, but I always think of Big Pharma. Once they were able to start advertising directly to consumer. Where they advertised the product, they got you interested in it. You said, wow, this can help me. And what do they say? Ask your doctor.
Matt, is that where you learned about that little blue pill?
The one that makes me ignore everything you say? Yes, it's been fantastic. It's glorious. I live in glorious, blissful ignorance of Greg's voice, thanks to one tiny pill. Contact me, DM me on Facebook. I'll get you in contact with the manufacturer.
And if Big Pharma hadn't advertised that, you still wouldn't know about it.
Exactly. It'd be a terrible shame. I'd have to listen to everything Greg said. It'd be terrible.
Shut up.
And I turned that one around on you.
Yeah, okay, you did, damn it.
That makes sense. So the tipping point is when the consumers know about it. Now, I'm guessing like the 80-20 rule has to apply to everything. So 2,300 programs, 80-20 rule would dictate that 20% of those programs do 80% of the business, that 80% of the money flows through only 20% of the programs. Is there value there in just promoting specific programs, or is there anything there where you can really zero in on the ones that seem to be the most effective, the ones that have the least restrictive rules, or the ones that are really good at working with agents and lenders to get things done and they make the process easier? Do you guys have it ranked or sorted in that way so that you can really go straight to the ones that are easiest to work with?
No. The simple answer is no, not yet. We're getting there. The one exception I would say about the 80-20 rule is that the reason for the complexity is that there are so many programs and so many of them are local, because there are.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We have 50 states, but I think we have 53 state housing finance agencies. So, and they all have some number of programs, each one of them. But still, you multiply that out, that doesn't come close to 2,300. So what are the rest? The rest are these local programs, whether they're city or county type programs,
gotcha.
and administered by those agencies or by nonprofits. And one of the reasons, and I think it's a good reason, the old cliche about all real estate is local. And I was talking to somebody not long ago, and they sort of referred to it as bespoke programs, custom.
Yep.
They're designed to meet a specific need in a specific locale. So if you said, well, what 20% of the programs get most of the business, I mean, you could probably figure that out, but with them being so local, I don't think that would apply that way. But when we will get to that point, and we're in the process of developing version 2.0 of our project, and we've been working with Freddie Mac and stakeholders, lenders, housing finance agencies, some data and technology vendors to build that next system. And that system, today we have, call it 120 data points in our database, or data fields in our database to accommodate information about these programs. Now, not every program is, probably none of the programs have something filled out in every field. It's just that because of the various programs, you need that many to cover all the variables that, one program has certain types of rules, another program has other types of rules. But if you're going to have a single database, you have to have enough space for any of the possible rules, even though you don't get them all in one program. So this new database, I mean, we're at the point where we have the business requirements and the functional requirement docs for that database. And that will be over 360 data fields for every. So again, not every program. You're not going to fill out something in every space for every program, but we got, like I said, we got the stakeholders together, the lenders, and primarily the lenders and the housing finance agencies created templates, and we didn't do this all by ourselves. We had, like I said, Freddie Mac was leading the charge and assembled some of the key stakeholders, and people for 7-8 months, I think it was, met either weekly or every other week on a conference call and just diligently went through and created these templates, first lien template and a second lien template, to say what is everything that a lender needs to know to execute these programs, to decide which program they want to use, how do they do it, how do they roll it out, all the way from onboarding it to originating it to selling it on the secondary market. Because when they sell a mortgage, an FHA first mortgage, a conventional first mortgage, and it's layered with down payment help, that impacts the sale of that first mortgage. You've got to meet whoever you're selling that mortgage to, typically Fannie or Freddie or Ginnie Mae. You've got to meet their guidelines for one of these programs. So we've got that part all done. The point in all this is, back to your question, we will also, this part of the program is also part of the new product is a portal for these agencies to log in and manage their own programs. So it becomes really the source of truth. And then the third piece of it, the third component, is the outputs. How is that information going to be consumed? How is it going to be consumed by an MLS, by an individual agent, by a lender, by a doc prep company? All the possible users of that data. But it becomes a system of record, and then you have so much more information going through there, and it's all, the architecture allows it to be, all that data to be mined in countless ways. And then that sort of comes full circle to your question. So which are the most popular programs? Which are the ones, people will be at the point, because there's no way to do that today. There's not us, nobody has not Fannie Mae, not Freddie Mac, not the biggest banks, not the smallest banks, not the housing agencies. Nobody has that data organized in a way to get analytics and metrics that they need, they want to study it. So, and I guess the other part of the question you touched on is, well, and we've heard this lately. Well, what if we could just can't we just design one program that works nationwide, one set of rules? Please, I mean, why? Well, again, there are a lot of different reasons for it, but a lot of it has to do with the locale, the guidelines, all those kinds of things. There are there's an agency that's a tribal agency called Shinoa, and they operate nationwide, and that's the closest thing I think to a nationwide program. But even then, there's some variables and things like that. So, it's the problem is a lack of standardization, which creates complexity, which creates operational inefficiency, which causes expense and heartburn and brain damage, and a lot of that is underlying the reluctance to use the programs. If you're a lender, there's some great lenders that have a history. It's in their DNA to do these programs. They have different motivations, not that many different motivations, but there's some various motivations for doing it. We've seen a lot the last few years, more and more lenders coming to us saying, we need to do these programs, but it's just crazy. How do we do it? And we're seeing some big lenders that are going to get into that business, and that comes back to the tipping point a little bit. Yeah. If you're one of the biggest lenders in the country and you start telling people that we can help you with your down payment, then word's going to get out pretty fast. Not only that, but then everybody's going to have to follow them, or else get out of the way.
What I'm hearing is that there's it's a simple question, but a very complex answer. I mean, I think the best thing for a lot of our listeners, because there's no way we can answer everybody's question with their MLS, with their specific, information. So let's do this. Rob, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you? Because I know that there are just dozens and dozens of people that are going to be watching this live or that are watching this live and that are going to be listening to this in the post show and on the podcast and on YouTube later. And where can someone reach out to you and say, Rob, I have a blah issue. Can you help me? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, my email address, they could text me for that matter, but text or call. But yeah, 404-272-7054. Text or call.
One more time for the good listeners, because Matt didn't catch it. He didn't write it down. Matt, get your pen out. Here we go. Yeah, I know Gene did. Okay, here we go.
I wish I had a radio voice. 404-272-7054.
Devastatingly handsome voice.
Call today. Or email. Email is rchrane, and Chrane is spelled with an H, a little bit different, so it's RCHRANE at downpaymentresource.com, all one word, longest email address around, and too long. or info at downpaymentresource.com will get Perfect. To me and our team. So.
You guys also go to downpaymentresource.com, kind of bump around on their website. It is fascinating to kind of learn what's out there. And obviously, Rob just gave you his contact information there. Reach out to this man. Because the reason why we had him on, like I said, if you weren't here in the beginning of the show, shame on you. But now I'm glad you're here now. It's okay. But you know what? Reach out to him. Ask him questions. Get a hold of his company. If you think a buyer might be able to benefit from this, nothing hurts you from reaching out to Rob and his team. So, do it today. Do it right now. I double dog dare you to do it right now. Rob, if you get a text right now, I will literally be like a giddy schoolgirl. I would love to see that happen.
Holy cow.
I'm like, oh my God. Gene's like,
exactly.
Gene, how can people get a hold of you, my friend?
Yeah. Same way we always do it. GeneVolpe.com. Wait for the little widget to pop up. Hit the contact button, put your info in, and I'll buzz you.
Matt, how can people get a hold of you?
Go to getmicrofamous.com. All my links are there, and then you can get this by going to microfamousbook.com. Physical copy, free. Just cover the shipping.
Matt, what were you holding in your hand? For all the people listening in podcast land, what were you holding?
That would be my book, Microfamous.
Oh, okay. Great book, by the way. No, all jokes aside, fantastic book. Matt really did a phenomenal job writing it. He held my attention. That is hard to do. And I've read one whole line of it, and I was thoroughly enjoying the entire thing.
Enthralled for 2 minutes. For the 2 minutes it took you to read that one line. Enthralled. All right. Let's. Shall we tie? What should we do?
Wait a minute.
We need to tie a bow around this episode.
Wait. Wait, nobody can get a hold of me? You selfish jerk.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't bounce it to you. I thought you already did. Greg, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Golly, it's talk about second fiddle here. Good gosh. Guys, go ahead and reach out to me. You can call me and text me at what number, Matt?
Oh, man, 925-915-1978.
There he is, coming
Scary.
through strong on the last run. Guys, text or call me there. Let's get a hold. Talk to me about what we're building over with our EXP downline. This is the first time being announced. We have a killer. We have a group of assassins that are coming along. We're building a tribe of just murderers that are just going to just decimate the land that they walk on when it comes to just domination of EXP downlines. I'm not kidding you. I'm really not kidding you guys. If you are serious about thinking about joining EXP and you want to get leads dropped into your inbox at a low cost, it's already happening to me. I already got a $1.8 million listing using the system. We have I don't know if I can announce this yet, but we have some people that are going to be working on the back end on social media. We got another individual who's going to be working with some VAs that you're going to be able to access. We have another guy who's going to be accessing lead generation. And then you're going to have Matt washing your car, not with rocks, but with soap on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. This is a full service package when you join EXP with our downline, guys. Full service package. So go ahead and text me, 925-915-1978. If you're thinking about doing it, I will explain to you what we got going on. It is legitimately awesome. I haven't been like this since I was a young schoolgirl. It's truly exciting. So, Matt, color of bow.
In honor of Rob, I'm going to do a striped two-color bow. I think for maybe the first time in the show's history. We're doing alternating stripes of navy blue and green.
Okay.
I like that. I like that. That matches, doesn't it?
It does.
Good call. Good call.
All right, guys, there it is. That's our show. Navy blue and green striped bow on this show. If you guys would be so kind, go to wherever you listen to the podcast. Give us a 5-star, not a 2-star podcast review. Give us some nice reviews. Mention Rob in the review if you liked what he has to say. Reach out to him. He's an OG gangster walking the mean streets of the U.S., helping passing out money like Mother Teresa. So help him pass out more money. Help us get more reviews. We love each and every one of you guys. We could not do this show without you. So until next time, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.